go on the record in case CR 23-1391. This is the people of the state of California versus Carlos Dominguez. And we're now ready for the evidentiary phase of this trial. So I'll turn to Prosecutor DeMora. Do you have a witness you'd like to call?
I do, Your Honor. The people will call Maria Breaux.
Okay, let's get Ms. Breaux. Counsel, I'm going to ask her to stand pretty much where you're at. Just give her a second, and then I'll let you move in. Good afternoon, Ms. Breaux. Come on in and stand here at the podium. Thank you for being here this afternoon. I'm going to ask the clerk to administer an oath to you, and after you take the oath, then I'm going to have you sit in the witness stand, and then we have two lawyers to ask questions.
Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear that the about to give and the cause not been for the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. Please be seated. Take your first and last name for record and spell them both.
Ms. Breaux, if you could state your first and last name and then spell it for the record.
On my birth certificate, Annamarie Breaux, Annemeria, and Breaux, Breaux, and I also go by Maria Breaux.
Okay, thank you. Mr. DeMora, direct exam.
Good afternoon, Ms. Breaux.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Breaux, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, who you're related to.
I live in San Francisco. I'm 56, will be 57 in December, and I make my living as a writer, marketing writer, as well as a filmmaker. Would you like to know anything beyond that?
Well, let me ask you, I mentioned who you're related to. Did you have a brother?
I did.
Who's your brother?
I have two brothers.
Do you have a brother named David?
I do.
And who's your other brother?
My other brother is Joseph Breaux.
And you know why we're here today to talk about David, correct?
I do.
So I'm going to show you two pictures, People's Exhibit 55A and 55B. All right, approach, Your Honor.
Okay.
Showing you People's Exhibit 55 on the top, 55A, and then 55B on the side. Do you recognize those photographs?
I do.
And who's the individual in there?
David Henry Breaux.
And are those pictures that you're familiar with?
I am.
Did you take those or did you have those at some point?
I did not take them, but I have both of them.
And is this, in life, was this a fair and accurate depiction of David?
It is.
Thank you. Ms. Breaux, could you tell us a little bit about David?
Yes, he's my so-called little brother. He was 6'2", and we grew up in the same house, same parents. He is 4 years younger than me. We both went through the same schools. We grew up in Doherty, California, in Southern California, and I left there in 1987 to attend Stanford, and he also went to Stanford 4 years after that, and went through, he studied urban studies with a focus on community development, and after that had odd jobs. He worked as a high school teacher, he worked in a sporting goods store, he also worked with at-risk youth as a case manager in Los Angeles, and had a couple of different relationships during that time. After college, he graduated. He took kind of a longer route and graduated in 1998, after which he went to go take care of our ailing father in Doherty. Our mother had passed away in 1997. And we had a difficult upbringing and childhood with a volatile father and a mom who had schizophrenia. And after I left, David became her caretaker. I was her caretaker before that point. And so he went back home, took care of my father, who passed away in 2004. David had moved out of the house by then, and he and I started the process of renovating our family home. Over the course of 2 years, my dad passed in 2004. He had signed the house over to us, and so David and I worked together to bring it to a livable state and sold it in 2006. And then he moved to the Bay Area. I was working at Genentech at the time as a supervisor of technical writers, a technical writing team. And then he met someone who reported to me. I introduced them, and he had a very serious relationship with her, and then struggled with depression for a number of years while he was in high school. Also, when he came up to the Bay Area, and was suicidal for some time. But through a loving community and this relationship that he was in, but he was not able to overcome his depression, we recommended therapy for him, and he did go to therapy. But he, go ahead. Sure, I know this can be a long story.
Oh,
so.
Okay. About what time frame are we talking about right now where you talked about David graduated,
Mm-hmm.
I take that from Stanford?
Yes, he graduated from Stanford in 1998.
And then when did you and David sell the house?
We sold that in 2006.
And then the relationship that we're talking about right now, about what time frame are we in? Right now?
That, I believe, started in 2005. If I'd have to check, but I believe it was in 2005.
And you were talking about with the help of the community, and I think I cut you off right there. So you were talking about with the help of the community, what happened?
So he broke up. Him and his girlfriend broke up. He moved to Oakland, and he was in a studio apartment, and he decided that he was going to pursue, according to him, he said he had exercised his body by working out, his mind by going to college, his heart by being in a relationship. So he wanted to exercise his spirit. So he spent about 1.5 years doing deep research into Western religions, Eastern religions, and philosophical thought, and looking at YouTube videos, reading books, and he came across a TED Talk by Karen Armstrong, who's a religious scholar, British religious scholar, and she had a TED Talk on compassion and about how she was kind of calling different institutions, communities, individuals to place compassion at the core of their values and their belief system, and that spoke to David. And so he continued about his life, but he thought, I want to do something compassion related. But at the same time, he was having health issues. And one day he kind of had a blackout and ended up in he called his friend, and his friend called an ambulance, and he ended up in a psychiatric hospital in San Leandro. And while he was there, he realized he was okay, and that he would devote the rest of his life to raising awareness of compassion.
So I want to use that to ask you about, did David have a nickname that you're aware of?
Yes,
What was that?
Compassion Guy.
And do you know where or how or when he got his nickname?
On the way back from the psychiatric hospital, he called a friend, Davis, and his friend Josh said, yes, you can stay with me. David had $50 left in his bank account, and he said, I need to do something. So he came to Davis, California, and with a note, his intent was he was going to start asking people, and he had started doing this work in Oakland, but he had a notebook and a pen, and he would ask people to write their definition of compassion. And so he did that from June 3rd, 2009 until his passing, and that's how he got to be called Compassion Guy in Davis.
And so June 3rd of 2009, is that about the time frame that he came to
That's the time he started collecting definitions in Davis. He came in May 2009.
And did you have the chance to visit with him when he was in Davis? Did you ever get the opportunity to come up and see him do his work and interact with people?
Yes.
And can you tell us about that?
Me and my family would come up. We always knew where to find him. He was at the corner of 3rd and C. And because sometimes my memory is a little spotty, I actually met people through email threads that I didn't really know who they were until later, and I met them in person. So people from the community, some people who are probably in this courtroom right now. And David made a lot of friends, and he brought some of them to San Francisco. Since I'm a filmmaker, he would come to see my movies, and he would bring friends from Davis. And so through that, I got to know some of the people in his sphere and people who later helped him with his compassion work.
When you say he was usually located at 3rd and C, are you talking about the intersection of 3rd Street and C Street in Davis?
That's correct.
You said you always knew where to find him. When you were with him, is that sort of the area of downtown Davis that you would stay in and interact with members of the community?
That's correct.
When was the last time that you got to see David?
The last time I saw David, it was in July 2019.
Did the two of you keep regular contact in between when you were actually able to see each other?
Yes, we did.
How so?
Through either, in various means, he sometimes had a phone, sometimes didn't have a phone. It was either through phone calls, texts, Twitter messages, or Facebook messages.
But it's fair to say that during that time, you were always sort of seeing what his work was doing, keeping track of him, and just staying connected.
That's correct.
You said that he came up and he messaged a friend when he came up to Davis to stay with that friend. Was he housed or unhoused when he was in Davis?
He was technically homeless, but not on the street until, as far as I know, 2018. And until that point, he was either couch sitting, house sitting, making use of the interfaith rotating winter shelter. So was inside, and as far as I know, he wasn't outside until 2018.
And do you know, did he prefer to live outside amongst the community, or was he actively looking for stable housing? You know?
He was actively looking for stable housing after a certain point. I should also add he was for 1 year on a tour around the U.S. called the Compassion Tour. Each month someone would host him and he would give talks and had his notebook set up at an appointed bench in that city. But it wasn't until sometime during the pandemic where he actively sought to go back inside full time.
In 2023, do you know where he'd been staying?
I believe he was staying outside.
When was the last time that you and David had the opportunity to either talk or text or Twitter, just communicate in general?
On his birthday, February 26, 2023.
And on April of 2023, April 29th, did you receive news about David?
I received news about David on the evening of April 27th, 2023.
And what was that news?
Someone from the San Francisco Medical Examiner's Office came to my door and said that David had died.
Since David's passing, have you had the opportunity to visit areas where David either frequented or a corner where there is a bench and memorial set up?
I have.
Ms. Breaux, do you recognize People's 43D?
I do,
And how do you recognize that?
as the compassion bench.
And so you're familiar with this area?
I am.
Is that in the city of Davis and County of Gilbert?
It is.
And is that picture of 43D, is that how Compassion Bench looks in honor of David?
It's covered with flowers, and yes, it is in honor of David.
And you've had the opportunity to visit that area?
I have.
Would you say, is that a fair and accurate picture of David's bench?
It is.
Thank you, Ms. Breaux. No questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Demora. Mr. Hutchinson, cross-examination.
I do not have any questions for this program.
Thank you, counsel. Ms. Breaux, appreciate you coming in here and testifying. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. Mr. Demora, do you have a witness you'd like to call?
I do. People would call Aiden Reynolds.
Okay, thank you.